Welcome to the Pickleball Recovery Podcast, where we highlight products and practices to help you feel better faster, so you can spend less time stiff, sore, and injured, and more time on the court doing what you love. This podcast is sponsored by Zamst. Zamst reinforces and protects athletes by providing premium technical products in the form of athletic braces and supports derived from innovative materials, designs, and manufacturing processes for the ankle, knee, elbow, and more. Find out more about these high-quality products built to prevent injury, improve performance, and ultimately help you spend more time on the court at www.zamst.us. And use the code PBR to save 15%. What's up? Welcome to another episode of Pickleball Recovery. I'm your host, Tim Ringgold. How you doing? Did you play any pickleball today? Hope so. I did not. I played some good pickleball yesterday, though. And I want to welcome back onto the court, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. G, or Dr. Guillermo Nofal. As some of you might know, professor at Cal State Fullerton, one of my best pickleball buddies. If you could have a best buddy, G's the man. And G's been going through some rehab on a foot surgery, and yesterday was his first day back out on the court in months, so it was great to have him back. And, it's a perfect example of why I started this podcast. When you lose your friends for weeks or months at a time through injury, and they just disappear, there's a social impact on that. We, as adults, let me be really candid. I lost my first name socially when I became a parent. So I became Allie's dad. And then I became Julian's dad, and my social interactions often were limited to other parents at church and other parents at school. And I got to tell you, that's a crapshoot, right? Like your friends might get along, or your kids might get along with some other kid, and then you're relegated to like hoping you get along with their parents. Let's be honest. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But just more than anything, I just, had fallen into that common pitfall that many parents do. So when I discovered pickleball, I got my first name back, peeps. Come on, Tim. Many people didn't know my last name. They just knew me as Tim. And that was great. Like G, I didn't know, like when he introduced himself, G, that was it. Sweet. Okay. That's cool. And we just became friends, and, like just the guy you just want to be on the court with all the time. Great human being. And, when your friends disappear, you miss them. And when you disappear, you miss your friends. And I'm sure G was going through that while he was rehabbing from surgery, and we missed him. So yesterday was just such a great reunion. So hats off to you, G. This one's for you, buddy. And this is going to be a good episode for you, my friend, speaking right to you now, because G had surgery on his foot. And you know what happens when you have surgery, folks? Muscle atrophy. Muscle atrophy is the natural shrinking of your muscles when you don't use them. Use it or lose it. And as we age, that happens even faster. And so it's an issue. I first learned of it when I had knee surgery. I was 19. I was a young stud, and I suffered from mad muscle atrophy. Actually, even before that, I was in middle school, and I broke my hand on somebody's face. I threw a punch trying to be Rocky and didn't realize that only works in Hollywood. Yeah, crunch. Broke my hand. Boxer's break in a cast. 4 weeks. Not even that long. They take that cast off. My wrist and my forearm were half the size of my left wrist and forearm. I was like, what? And so this is a real deal, real thing. When I was suffering from my head injury last year, when I went back out on the court, finally, months later, it was immediate problems in my legs because of atrophy. So how do we strengthen our limbs if we have joints that are either damaged or are recovering from surgery or are tender. How do we prevent atrophy from occurring? How do we strengthen? Because you guys know, you've heard, if you want to strengthen a joint, you need to strengthen the muscles around the joint. And well, how do you do that if the joint's really unstable or painful? That's a conundrum. Well, lo and behold, that's what today's all about, because I recently dropped by to see my old buddies at Stretch Effect in San Diego. You'll recall 2 episodes that I did with Kyle Valerie from Stretch Effect to kind of get my body from stop injuring myself, right? Like I had injuries, muscle pulls. Then I work with Kyle and Nick and Evan and Chris over at Stretch Effect. And then lo and behold, the next year I go muscle pull free. Thanks, guys. And so I was like in town, I dropped in, saw them. And as I'm chatting with Nick, Dr. Nick, I'm like, what's new? And I saw they have this crazy new treadmill over there that simulates being off-road. So it like shifts left, right, up, down, not just up, down like a regular treadmill, but like left and right as well. So like, wow, that's fancy. And then he tells me about this other thing they've got. And I'm like, oh, tell me more, because I just read a little something about that in Pickleball Magazine. And then I had also seen that on tour. A vendor had a booth somewhere in Mesa way back, and I wasn't able to reconnect with them. So let's talk about it. So we just started chatting. And I was like, well, dude, let's do a podcast episode. I have my gear in my car. And he's like, dude, my client just canceled. I got 45 minutes, so it was perfect. Kismet. So here we are. We're going to jump into this. And before we do that, I want to just say something really quickly, which is this. Like, I provide a lot of, this journey over the past couple of years. And, when you watch YouTube videos or you listen to podcasts, you'll hear people talk about, hey, can you leave a review, or can you rate it, or can you like and subscribe? You'll hear all that stuff, right? I do too, because I'm a regular podcast listener and YouTube fan. And, the number of times I've not done that is probably more than the number of times I have. But recently I did take a minute and leave a review for someone, because they asked in a particular way that I thought was really cool. And he said it like this. He said, I want you to imagine, and I'll give credit because it's Alex Hormozy, who is a phenomenal trainer when it comes to sales and marketing. If you haven't read either of his books, if you're in sales and marketing in your business world, read $100 million offers and $100 million leads. They're phenomenally done. I'm listening to them on Audible. And right in the middle of the Audible, he just says, listen, how would you like to give a gift to a future struggling entrepreneur? It won't cost you any money. It'll only cost you about 60 seconds. And here's what you can do for them. If you've gotten value out of this book, just take a second and rate and review it wherever you're consuming it. And what that does is it pushes the book in front of more people who inevitably it will help. And so if you'd like to help another person, if you basically want to pay it forward, this is the easiest way to do it, because you don't have to pay me. It's all free content. But this is how you can pay it forward. And I just thought, it's a really cool way of putting it. So I'm going to put it to you guys today. Would you please take a minute? And literally it's a minute. I did it and it was a minute. And I was like, he's right. Would you take a minute? If you are listening to this on Apple, would you rate and review it? Leave just a quick review. Tell me, tell Apple, tell the world what you like about the podcast. If it's on Spotify, I think the only thing you can do is just leave a 5-star rating, or any kind of rating. But on Apple, you can rate and review it. On Spotify, you can rate it. It's not that intuitive. You got to click the 3 dots next to it and kind of find it. If you're listening to this on YouTube, would you please subscribe, and would you like the video? YouTube's algorithms are crazy, you guys. On my personal platform, we had a video of my late daughter who passed away in 2010. And we had just put it on there for our friends, and somehow the YouTube algorithm picked it up and shared that video around the world, and it has like 500,000 views. And it had nothing to do with us. It was all YouTube. Like a certain number of people watched it, liked it, and YouTube said, "Oh, okay," and sent it to more people who watched it and liked it, and so on and so forth. And that video ended up touching and moving literally hundreds of thousands of people. I'm so honored that my daughter could, create a moment of just, humanity for people in their life. It was a rough journey we went through. And so it was really cool to see how the YouTube algorithms really work. So listen, you got buddies who play pickleball in pain. You got buddies who are struggling with issues. So you can either just tell them about the stupid podcast yourself, or you can just leave a review and YouTube will do it for you. All right. So thank you from the bottom of my heart for doing that. This has definitely been a labor of love. And I get so happy. You guys, I get so happy. I'll be somewhere. So here's an example. At 2 tournaments recently, I was playing warm-up matches with someone. And as we walked up to the kitchen and started talking to each other, 2 different people in 2 different states said, "I recognize your voice." And they said, "Do you have a podcast?" And, gosh, shucks. Yeah, And Joel from Austin, that goes out to you, and Natasha, who I met in Florida. But Natasha, do you live in Connecticut? Where do you live? It doesn't matter. That goes out to you. And you guys, and to the gentleman, I think his name was John, the very first time this happened to me in Texas, it means so much to me. To hear that from you guys, because creating a podcast it's a black hole experience. I'm sitting alone in my office and nobody's laughing at my jokes in here. So there you go. All right. That was like, how many of you remember you ever watch PBS when you were growing up? And like 2 or 3 times a year, they'd have like a telethon and you'd have to listen to them raise money because there weren't any commercials. There you go. This concludes the PBR telethon. So enough out of me. Let's jump in. Enjoy this. It's super fun. Watch this on YouTube because, once again, I'm the guinea pig. So I actually demo this product live, and you see and hear. It's just richer if you see it. So with that, sit back, relax, enjoy the ride, and I'll see you on the other side. Dr. Nick Perkins,
yes,
welcome
sir.
to Pickleball Recovery.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's great. This is so fun because for those of you who don't know, Dr. Nick and I met long before I met Kyle here at Stretch Effect.
Correct.
Back at Co Physical Therapy in Irvine, California.
That's right.
Probably 2017. I think we were just trying to think back.
Sounds about right.
7 years ago.
Yeah.
I had a frozen shoulder, and this guy scraped the crap out of my shoulder, my pec, my back, my arm, my hand. And our motto was, "Don't stop until I start swearing."
Yep.
And that's when we knew we were getting the work done.
He did a pretty good job. He could take a little scrapey scrape. We like to call it instrument assisted soft tissue mobilization. Most people will call it Graston or scraping.
Yes.
Band-aid, bandages. But
yes,
it's a form of fascial release that was, I think, beneficial for the shoulder at the time.
It was. I wasn't able to get a jacket on because you remember when jackets got like super small, like blazers. It was a style. Mm-hmm. I couldn't hang with the style. I was like, I was like a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yeah, I think that was the functional goal, was be able to wear tight-fitting jacket.
Yes.
And then once that was achieved, we're like, you're good.
That's it. I never want to see you guys again.
PT is over. This was pre-pickleball, though.
PTSD is over.
Yeah.
Or PTSD just began because Graston is not fun, ladies and gentlemen.
Good times.
In fact, there was a gal in your waiting room once there where she had a full sleeve tattoo, and I looked at her and I was like, yo, which hurts more? And she had to pause.
Yeah.
She really thought about it.
Yep.
She wasn't sure.
Yeah. I mean, Yeah, in the end, though, you feel better.
Yes.
Either, with a tattoo, you feel better about how you
There you
look,
go.
or,
Graston, you feel better when you can move better.
Move.
That's right. Move well.
Same outcome.
Move free, live well.
That's right. That's our motto here.
There we go.
That's right.
So now we're back. So funny story, as you guys know, longtime pod listeners, Kyle, who's one of the main head honchos here, has worked with me and this machine also. And first day I walk in, I see this guy, and you're like, "Oh my God, I know you."
Well, the crazy thing was I saw the name. I was like, "What?" I know this name.
Right.
And then when you see the face, all the synapses start connecting.
The baldness. Like, white middle aged.
I was like, "Where's the fedora?"
Oh, that was back.
Yeah, see?
Back in my fedora. Yes, when I was a music therapist full time and looking cool, and those were the days.
It was good.
So fast forward, here we are in 2024, and I have been hearing about this this hot new thing called BFR, and I was on tour somewhere, and someone had a booth about it, and I started reading about it, and then never saw him again. And it was like one of those modalities that was just left in my unchecked category for like investigation. So here I am. I dropped by to say hi to you guys for fun, and look what we have here.
New toys.
All new toys.
Yeah.
So we're here to talk about BFR, which is short for
blood flow restriction.
Right. Why do I want to do that?
Training. Yeah. So most people hear that and they're like, that sounds like a
terrible.
terrible idea.
Kind of
Something
like
I
Aston.
shouldn't do. Yeah. A couple reasons. One would be post-surgical or when we're unable to load, right? So the idea is to get high or better results with lower load, right?
Okay.
So,
and when you say load
meaning weights.
Okay.
Right. So you want to do bicep curls. You're going to be like, I can't do 5-pound
Right.
bicep curls because
Right.
that's not going to do anything.
Right.
I need to load it up. Right?
Right.
But when we increase the load, that also increases the load to our joints
Yes.
and our soft tissues.
Yes.
Which sometimes we can't handle depending on where we're at in life.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Injury or something like that.
Sure.
So the idea is that you can get that pump that we sometimes desire with a workout with a lower load. So lower volume, but high intensity results. That's kind of the slogan.
Gotcha.
Not as cool as ours, but it's close. For BFR. So people that might benefit from this would be someone with an injury, a knee injury, an elbow injury, a wrist injury.
Yeah.
Any of those pickleball injuries.
Yep.
That knows and has been told, hey, I need to strengthen.
Yes.
But ow, it hurts. When I strengthen, right?
It's like
and
a catch-22.
That's a problem.
Yes.
Kind of notorious figure in sports would have been like Dwight Howard, right? Really bad knees, tall, big jumper. Was told I need to get my quads really strong to protect my knees and my glutes. Couldn't do it under heavy loads because it was hurting his knees. So they started putting these cuffs on his quads, which we're going to talk about, so that he could strengthen his quads just doing like a regular knee extension or a body weight squat, which was not harmful for the knees, but allowed him to maybe expand his career and go a little bit longer because he was able to fortify the muscles around the joints.
And that's exactly what every pickleball player wants is to expand their career, amateur or pro.
So there's some a little symbiotic there for sure.
Yeah.
So basically, if we break down what BFR is blood flow restriction. So it is going to restrict blood flow from wherever you put the cuff, which is usually going to be on the upper arm or around the leg, which we'll demo in a little bit.
Okay.
Everything distal to that is not going to get good blood flow out. So it's going to, we think about veins and arteries, right?
Yep.
Arteries are from the heart to the muscles, and then veins return the blood from the muscles back to the heart, right? So when we put the cuff on, it's going to fully occlude, or it's going to take the vein and it's going to close it off.
Yep.
And fully occlude that, and it's going to partially occlude the artery.
Okay.
So we're going to allow a little bit of blood flow into the muscle, but we're not going to let it back out.
Wow.
So blood in, and what's going to happen is we're going to get pumping swelling, right?
Wow.
So
it's like the opposite of a tourniquet.
Which is, it's kind of interesting. So the reason for that is because the veins and the arteries are built slightly differently, we can occlude the venous pressure.
More easily.
Yeah.
Yep.
So what we do is we train on a percentage of your full limb occlusion pressure or your arterial occlusion pressure.
Okay.
So you might hear LOP or AOP, which is limb occlusion pressure or arterial occlusion pressure.
Okay, thank you.
Occluding just meaning that we're going to stop the flow of blood.
Got it.
Right. So we don't want all of the limb to be occluded. We do want some blood flow, and so we're gonna train at a percentage of that.
Okay.
Typically for the arms will be anywhere from 40 or even 20 to like 80% occlusion pressure, and the legs we're gonna be maybe a little higher, maybe the 60 to 80% range.
Okay.
Right. So to do that, there's this crazy math equation, and you use a Doppler, and you got to figure this all out. Fortunately, Saga, the cuffs that we chose, they calibrate for us. So we put it on, it self-calibrates, it tells you what your limb occlusion pressure is, and then you can use the app to dial into whatever pressure you want to train at,
Nice.
and then we go into training. And then set and rep schemes are typically higher volume, lower weight.
Okay.
So the most kind of notorious or researched set and rep scheme is 30, 15, 15, 15. So you're going to start with 30 reps, 30 to 60 second break, and then 15 reps, same rest period, 15, 15.
Okay.
So you're doing about 75 reps by the end of it, but you're doing a lightweight.
Okay.
Right? So a 5-pounder, if you're thinking of a bicep curl, that's a common one to think about.
Yeah.
By the second or third set, you're can barely move the 5-pound weight. So
wow.
That's kind of the idea. So we're not getting all of that pressure and stuff through the joints, but we're getting a really good pump.
Got it.
We like to say here your head gets smaller because you get a little bit more swole up here. So we're just trying to get people's heads as small as possible. So that would be one thing, is to try to get that nice kind of pump going, right?
Yep.
So people that are trying to build muscle volume. What happens is there's a couple of physiological things that may happen there.
Okay.
One being that you're going to get swelling, so you're going to get intracellular swelling into the muscle because we're getting a lot of blood flow in and not out. That would stimulate basically the nucleus to say, hey, we need to build more muscle here.
Okay.
So that's when we get that pump, we're like, hey, the muscles are stimulated to actually build.
Gotcha.
Right? 2 is hypoxia, so you're meaning no oxygen. We're getting less oxygen down into the muscles, which could also stimulate hypertrophy. And then there's some trickle-down effects from that where we might get lactic acid buildup or some of these metabolites that are byproducts of exercise build up in the muscles, which are also stimulating, again, that hypertrophy or muscle gain.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So, again, but then we're just doing it with lighter weight. Now, some might say, well, I can just do this and I don't ever have to lift a heavy weight ever again. Not necessarily true. Okay. Because there's also a lot of the nervous system involved and stuff like that, and we got to be able to overcome heavy weights for certain sports, things like that. Right. Okay. But it can be used in adjunct with your training program.
Totally.
Or depending on where you're at, you can't actually train because you're injured or just had a surgery or something.
Right.
Then maybe we would lean into this now to restore some muscle girth and stuff like that. Think of the common ACL repair.
Totally.
You get done with that and you have no quad.
Yes.
And it's just
all that atrophy.
That's not great.
I have a tiny thigh.
Yeah, it's a tiny thigh.
Yes.
So if we're trying to get girth back and strength back early on in early stages of that, BFR is a great complement to that. You can just do some body weighted stuff.
Got it. That. If people have foot surgery and they're atrophying in, gastroc and tib and peroneal, all that, same thing.
Absolutely.
Where do you put the cuff?
You would still cuff up here.
Still cuff up here.
It's everything downstream.
Oh, that's right.
And then maybe you would do some calf raises or some tib anterior raises or anything else.
Yep.
Any exercise that you were already doing.
Yep.
You could do this just with lower volume and then higher rep.
Brilliant.
Right.
Brilliant.
The cool thing is you feel it, right? You're you look down and you're like, oh my gosh,
straining.
I got this nice, awesome pump, but I didn't really work that hard.
Wow.
Right. So that's kind of a nice. So sometimes we'll even use it here as a finisher. You have a good workout. Still got a little bit left.
Yep.
Let's get the BFR on and just
wear it out.
Wear down all the energy systems you have left.
Wow.
Right. And then you come walking out man, I feel like I got a great workout there.
Right.
So that could be one way too.
Okay.
Usually typical people that would use it would be the injury or post surgical elderly too, that just they have a lot of wear and tear and joints hurt.
Yep.
And I am told I need to exercise and get stronger.
I'm in exactly that conundrum right now because I have
you're older.
Because I'm older.
Oh, gotcha.
Yes, gotcha. Thanks. And I have this lateral meniscus sensitivity. That's all I'm going to call it.
Gotcha.
But when I am at a full squat, I can't support my own body weight standing up without pain. I have to use my arms to give myself that kind of cheat as I go up.
Gotcha.
And I'm doing knees over toes protocol right now. And so body weight stuff I can do. I'm doing calisthenics through this app called Better Me. Body weight stuff. It's great. But there are limits to what I can do right now.
Gotcha.
And I'm trying, the whole idea is to strengthen this. And yet,
fortify the tendons, get the muscle stronger. Right. So for you, I think definite candidate. Right?
Yeah.
So there are, contraindications to it, and there's a whole list of things that you would want to make sure that you do not fall into these contraindications.
Gotcha.
Which the app has a bunch of them, and I'm not going to list them all off, but with BFR, you do have to be aware of certain contraindications where if you have, just making sure that you're healthy enough to do it.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So any good source or app that would come with it would have you go through and screen to make sure you're a candidate. For
Gotcha.
it, right.
Gotcha.
We're always looking for the benefit of exercise and not the detriment of exercise. So if you want to try them on and we can take you through it, I'll show you the list right now, and you probably won't be able to say most of these words.
Okay.
I'll list off a few here.
This could be fun. Let's see.
So
do you suffer from any of the following?
If any time you feel pins or needling, numbness or tingling, excessive pain, stop the BFR training. Okay. And that would be with any exercise, right?
Yeah.
So it's not supposed to be painful. It might be a little bit uncomfortable, right? Because you are having some pressure around the joint.
Yeah.
And then we get into the screens and it'll say stuff like, do you have a VTE, family history of VTE, pregnancy, cancer, lymphedema, intravenous drug users, all that kind of stuff.
Thing. Yeah.
It doesn't have that. 6 weeks postpartum, we don't have that. Over 60,
nope, still okay.
Relatives.
But over 60's on there.
Sickle cell,
okay.
Acute stroke. So that would just be like a relative. So it's not absolute contraindication. You could still train.
Okay.
But you would just be maybe training at lower pressures and something like that.
There you go.
And then making sure.
Oh, because you'd tell it you were over 60 and it would be like, okay, good to know.
Yep. And then,
ratchet it down.
The only one for you maybe would be age over 35 years old.
Yeah.
Dehydration. Do you have high blood pressure?
No.
Okay.
No.
So I think you're good to go.
Yeah.
We would check off.
Concussion.
Go through that low risk. It tells you what your risk is after you go through it.
Nice.
And then we're ready to strap it on and kind of fill it out. So we're going to go with the arms so that we can see it a little bit better here.
Awesome.
So pretty easy. It's going to just strap on like a blood pressure cuff.
Okay.
And we'll just turn it on here.
Okay.
So you're going to end up looking like Iron Man
awesome.
A little bit here.
There we go.
So you want it snug on there. We're just going to go right over the bicep there. Good. We'll get this one on too.
Oh, should we do one arm control and one arm as the ons and have me do a weight so I can describe it? Or should we? Or is the whole idea you do them bilaterally?
Well, you could do both. You could do unilateral. You could get some crossover. We could do just one just to feel it. That's
just to see the difference.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do that.
I like it.
On my own control.
I love it. So we're going to start you up here. The app's pretty easy to use.
Okay.
So it's seeing that we're connected here. I'm going to proceed with that cuff. So now we go into where it's going to, save and connect.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
The error message, you guys, the error message on the app literally said, oh, no. That's adorable.
Okay. Let me make sure that this one is.
Hold, please, as we all the Bluetooths speak with each other.
Bluetooth is good.
It is fascinating how advanced, all of this is now.
And part of the reason that we wanted to get these ones was to make it a little easier on us and for clients to use.
Yep.
Let's see if that's going to. There we go. Okay. So we're connected here.
Great.
It says, will I use this cuff for my arms or legs? So we're on arms, and then we're going to calibrate. So you're just going to sit still, and it's going to pump fully to find your limb occlusion pressure, or LOP, or AOP is arterial occlusion pressure.
Okay.
They use those words kind of interchangeably because they're just trying to find out how much pressure it's going to take to fully occlude down the arm.
Got it.
It's going to feel like the top of the blood pressure.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like I'm just getting my blood pressure taken.
That's exactly what it is. So it's going to give us a reading, millimeters of mercury, to say what your pressure is at, and then it'll calibrate, and then we'll be able to take a percentage of that and then train on that.
Okay.
All
right.
And then I should probably go get some weights.
Couple of lightweight, featherweight feathers.
Yeah. BFR.
BRB with the BFR, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, this is so much fun. So I was in Mexico today getting some dental work done, and I was supposed to do another podcast episode, and my schedule went upside down because of the border. And so my other podcast guest and I had to reschedule today. So I literally have all my podcast gear with me, and I was driving up and I was like, I have time to kill. Let me go see all my San Diego friends. So I literally just walked in on this and I was like, what new toys do you have? I was telling them the backstory of why I'm here today.
Perfect.
So here we are.
All right. Perfect. So it's been occluded 164 millimeters of mercury, and then we're going to use that value. And it recommends 50%. Since it's your first time, we'll do that. We'll stick with the 50%.
Sounds good.
So I'm going to confirm that pressure.
Okay.
And so we're going to go 50%, and then we'll go ahead and begin.
Okay.
So now it's going to fill up just to 50% of that full limb occlusion pressure.
There it goes.
And then you'll feel some.
It's squeezing right now.
Squeezing.
Automatically. Right? Yeah.
So we would go into our 30, 15, 15, 15 protocol.
Okay.
I grab 10s for you. you can start with 5s. I think 10s would be good.
Okay.
And we can just go. Usually you want to do kind of like a full range, so we can maybe even just go down at your side, and then we'll just curl up. And let's just go ahead and do 30.
Okay.
And see how you feel. I like this. I haven't done it with just the one arm, and I can already. It's just looking at you. He's already got a nice pump on that side compared to this side.
I can't believe the difference
now.
It
is crazy.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I'm on like 4.
It's going to be a lot harder.
I already lost count.
I may have overestimated. Could have done 5-pound weights, but
22. Yeah, I'm just going to cheat right here. They're all watching on camera.
Yeah.
Someone else is keeping track.
And then we would get to 30.
Yeah.
Right, and then if you just show the camera just even after those, you can see the forearm difference.
Look at the 2 arms.
Right, so he's already getting that intracellular swelling.
And guys, I'm not flexing my arm. The machine is. Yeah, so that's not me.
He's getting a huge pump. So then we would relax for about 30 seconds to a minute.
Okay. And
then we would get into that 15 set rep. So we'll just relax there.
It doesn't mind. It's just going now.
Yeah. So you can keep the pump the whole time throughout the whole set.
Uh-huh.
If you start to drop off, so say maybe on that 3rd set of 15, now you're
just gassed.
5.
Right.
I would either decrease the limb occlusion pressure,
which it looks like you can do right on the screen.
Boom, boom.
Easy.
Or just hit pause, allow you to get a little blood flow back.
Yep.
And then go and finish your sets.
Yep.
Or decrease weight. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. But you can keep the pressure on the whole way.
Okay.
Now, cool thing is we're talking about strength, hypertrophy. We can also work endurance. Right, so you could put cuffs on and get on a bike and do like a 10-minute bike ride. So stuff like that. So you're working, and that would be maybe working on your lactate buffering threshold. So how good you're at buffering out metabolites with an endurance sport.
Okay.
So thinking endurance 2, which is maybe something
I'm on
you
5.
might need to be able to do.
Am I turning purple yet?
Yeah, Violet. You're turning violet.
You just started giggling right in the middle of
No,
what
it's
you
just
were
I'm looking at the pump, and you're starting to get a little bit of pump on this side, which is good.
Yeah.
You're working, but like this side is looking like Thor. Right? And this side's looking like Spider-Man, which is great. That's the visual is pretty awesome.
That's funny.
I kind of want to take a picture.
Yeah. Take a picture of that because it is.
That
it's like
it's very apparent. There we go. Look at that.
Oh.
So you get the idea, right?
I don't need to go any further.
Now, if we were just training one side, so say I had an ACL repair on my left side, I would probably put the cuffs on both sides.
You can stop it now.
Still train. Pause, workout.
Pause. No, finish.
And then finish. He's like, and I'm done.
Are you sure? Yes, I am.
So that was like 3 minutes there, right? Under leg.
That was extremely uncomfortable.
Yeah. And that was at 50%, right?
Wow.
So first time we go lightweight, 50%. Now you're gonna have one strong arm.
Yeah.
No. So you got some hypoxia in there. So the lack of blood flow. You got the intracellular swelling, which you're feeling like that fatigue.
Yeah.
And it was not a heavy load.
No.
Right. So you felt high intensity, but you did a very low intensive workout.
Yeah. And it just like the two words that come to my mind. One is safety, and for you guys who listened to the episode I just did with Dr. Ethan Kreisworth and Darren Lancaster with Go Sleeves, we were talking about how the brain guards with injury and how that nervous system safety, that feeling of like, I can just not be on guard and not protect my joint.
Correct.
So like for someone who has a joint injury and you're going to work the muscles around that joint, that nervous system is 100%. Activated, aroused.
There's that kinesiophobia, right? That fear of moving, right?
Yeah.
So that can be very detrimental, right? Because you maybe you have PTSD. Going back to that.
Yeah.
Like, last time I did this, I got injured.
That's it.
Right?
That's it.
And so there's that fear of moving. So this is also, mentally on the nervous system side is like, I feel safe doing this.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
I'm not harming the joints, and I'm gonna get a good benefit from it. So that I think that there's something to that. 100%.
Yeah. That it's one of the reasons I always struggled with chest was because I never felt safe doing bench on my own.
Yeah. You feel shoulders.
I was nervous. I didn't want to get.
I can pull this off.
Please.
It's just sitting there blinking.
Yeah.
Nice.
And so but I could go at my arms till, I never felt there was a safety issue going on. And same with doing squats. I always felt unsafe.
Yeah.
So that first thing comes to mind. And then the second thing is just efficiency.
Yes.
Just in, out. I'm not at this point where I want to spend 2 hours doing anything.
So that comes to some of the other people that might be, beneficial is maybe someone who travels a lot.
Yep.
Don't have access to a gym. still wanting to keep up with some of their gains they're getting at home or whatever, they could just do a body weight workout with these on in the hotel room and get a good workout, right?
Yeah, totally.
So pickleball, you're traveling for tournaments and stuff like that, maybe in between. And then again, you're not getting the wear and tear on the joints. So you're saving some of that. And even any exercise, you should be thinking about, what am I getting out of this? Am I getting more of like the tissue pain? Like, I know I need to squat, but like every time I'm doing it, I'm just like feeling my knees more than I'm actually feeling my quads.
Right.
That does not outweigh the benefits don't outweigh, right? We want to feel like, hey, I'm getting that proper access to the muscles that I'm trying to train, but not being all the wear and tear from it, right?
Yes.
So I think that's another advantage is you actually can feel it. Now, some people, and I've had people where it's like, I don't feel my biceps when I do a curl, or I never get the triceps like pump that I want.
Right.
And then you do it with BFR, and then they're like, oh, that's what I was supposed to feel this whole time, right? So that's another, just like, again, you can kind of feel or target some of the muscles.
Yep.
There's limitations to it, right? You can't really use it for your core so much. The chest is a little bit different.
Yep.
You can do chest exercises with them on, and you can do core exercises with them on. You're just not going to get the same like trickle down like soreness that you would get.
Yep.
But for extremity types of pain, which I think in pickleball it's going to be a lot of shoulders and elbows and wrists and knees and ankles.
Yep.
I think that could be advantageous to a lot of your listeners and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, totally.
Hopefully this was educational in some respects, but also just kind of open your eyes to it. There are limitations, and it's not an end all be all, but I think it's complementary to training programs that you might be doing anyways.
100%.
Especially as you're aging in your sport and that kind of thing,
Yep.
to increase your longevity and your wellness through your sport. I think that's kind of your bag.
Yeah.
So that's something that
I'm not dead
BFR, yeah, you will be in a minute. But that's something that I think would be beneficial for some of your people.
Yeah, awesome.
Sure.
It's funny when people will meet me and they'll ask me, they're like, I did an event last week, and people were like, immediately they want free advice.
Yeah. What do you got for me?
What do you got? What do you got?
Yeah,
what do you
yeah.
got? And I'm like, well, listen, how much time do you have?
Yeah.
Because it's not one thing.
Yeah.
It's never one thing. It's all the things.
Right.
And depending on how much time we have, I will tell you from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to bed, and then that sleep, even while I am in bed, I'm measuring that.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like, it's all of it. And
Right.
anywhere I can pick up a marginal gain, it's worth it.
Yeah.
Because there's a return on that for me. So
yeah, exactly. And and we're lucky enough that we're in a space where we can spend a little bit more time with our people.
Yep.
But I think about those high volume clinics and stuff where sometimes like, man, I really want to load this person up.
Right.
And I just don't have the time.
Yep.
Well, then you can teach them or show them how to do this, on their own safely.
Yep.
And you can still get those loads, right?
Yep.
So, and you can always play around with the set and rep schemes. You can play around with tempo and working on, eccentrics and all that kind of stuff. We're working on like, what are best exercises to feel lateral tricep versus medial tricep and stuff like that. Just
dialing it in.
Dialing it in is just so we have kind of our protocols right around it. But it's been something that we're, getting a lot of, feedback from, and we're actually going to do a little case study on myself.
That's right. Tell me about that.
So went and got a DEXA scan that, if you guys don't know what a DEXA scan is, basically shows you your body fat percentage, your lean mass percentage. It shows your visceral adipose tissue, and it shows your like bone mineral density. So a lot of people use it to track bone mineral density.
Gotcha.
But we like to track it sometimes for like gains. Right?
Yes.
And it's like, can you...
Or losses.
Yeah. So we did one, like when I first started working, where we were trying to like, can you lose body fat and gain muscle at the same time, which was able to do, which was cool.
That is cool.
So now we're going to see with BFR, can we get gain specifically to a certain area of the body?
Okay.
So the DEXA will break down body regions for you and look at like lean mass gains. So we're like putting it to the test.
Nice.
We partner with DEXA Body, which is fortunately right behind us. And so we have access to it. So we're going to do a little case study, and then it just gives us anecdotal data for our people. So the idea is for me to get my head as small as possible, because my arms are going to get huge.
There's a lot of work there.
And I'm going, it has worked out perfect. Going to go into Hawaii in about 8 weeks. So we'll see, like, okay, is he ready for Hawaii or not?
That's right. That's it.
But yeah, anyway, so we always like to test it out, right? Put ourselves through the test.
Of course.
Our clients, laugh at us because they're like, you guys, you nerd out when you get your new stuff.
Yes,
and
we do.
We're like, we love it,
We
right?
love
But
it,
we get
dude.
it. It's for them.
Yes.
Right? The reason we get it for them, we use it for ourselves as well. You practice
Sure.
what you preach.
100%.
But we've been having some fun with it, and I think for any, like I said, any training program, it could be complementary. And just as long as you're checking those boxes, making sure it's safe for you.
Yep.
There's a great podcast with it, which I think it's called the Blood Flow Restriction Podcast.
How's that for specific?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah,
what is it about? It's just so general, and it's
I know it's very the Blood Flow Restriction Podcast. Yeah.
Wow.
So a lot of great information. Saga, the people
Like
that design
SAGA?
SAGA
Okay.
that designed these products.
Yep.
I have no financial affiliation with them at all. It just since I was getting into products, I like to nerd out on and learn as much as I can.
Totally.
Because if I'm going to use it, I need to be able to know when, why, where, when not to use it,
100%.
all that kind of stuff to make sure it's safe.
Yep.
That's medical director role.
That's right. Good man. And while that's your job, it's not mine. So Saga, feel free to send me some.
So Saga, we're plugging you. But we love the product and we're having some fun with it. Maybe we'll get on their podcast next.
That's it.
But yeah, I think that's kind of the long and the short of it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Dr. Nick, thanks for joining us on Pickleball Recovery.
Yeah, absolutely.
Woo-hoo.
You.
Thanks so much for listening. Did you know there's one place on the web for all your recovery needs? It's at www.pickleballrecovery.com. You'll find all the products I personally use and recommend, along with exclusive discounts on many of them, as well as my blog where I help you make sense out of all the different products and practices out there to keep you moving and feeling better so you play better. After all, your body is the most expensive piece of equipment you own. Also, do you want to know the number one mistake picklers make that leads to increased pain, soreness, stiffness, and injury? Just head over to pickleballrecovery.com and download my free guide to playing with less pain and more enjoyment. Listen, pickleball makes us feel young at heart, but not young in body. So go download my free guide at www.pickleballrecovery.com. See you next time.